I mean, it's
Oh,
it's
are you talking about Skip Bayless?
yeah,
Dude,
I'm talking about Skip. Like, so
I'll,
that came out and he discussed how at the start of the pandemic he started to feel a little depressed, like to the point where he couldn't work out and all this other shit. And
and
then
and his
and then his
brother.
brother committed suicide, right? And he came out and said that for whoever needed to hear it, like
Yeah.
when someone like him says that, it gives other people hope because he's speaking from the other side. Like, yeah, like I've talked to my family, my friends, and I feel better now. But I'm not saying that like like you may view me as like the strong like QB and like I'm an athlete and all this other shit, but I deal with shit like this too. I
I
can get through it like you can get through it too.
I think the
Like you
most
can look for me.
I think the most important part of what he said was that he was afraid to express it to
Mm-hmm.
people because he didn't want to seem weak.
That's not just like,
And
but
here comes Skip
that's
Bayless with his take.
yeah, but
Yes. And what was
that's a
and
lot of black men though.
yeah, no, and
Not,
that's
Skip,
that's
Skip,
men that's men in general, but I think it's also
yeah,
no,
Skip.
it's also black men probably at a higher level
Well,
because
yeah.
black
Like that's just how our community is.
yes.
Well,
But
after Dak had that statement, Skip Bayless was on his show, and what he did was he prefaced it by saying that he knew some people were going to hate him for being a little heartless for saying what he's saying. But basically, bottom line for him was that if you're going to be an NFL quarterback, you can't say that you can't have anxiety or depression. At least you can't admit it, because it makes you less of a leader. It makes you less of what it is that you need to be as far as the quarterback for America's team. If you give me a moment, I know I can get long-winded sometimes, but if there's one thing that means probably the most to me was mental health awareness. I've been no stranger admitting my pitfalls and my struggles as far as mental health.
I'm an alcoholic.
Well, so like I've suffered from anxiety ever since I was a little kid. I've had bouts of depression. I've almost committed suicide more than once. I've even, if we're talking about current struggles, 2 weeks ago I drank myself into a stupor, promising in my bedroom, and I promised myself that I would not do that. But you know, every once in a while you struggle. I'm talking to a therapist again, but where I was used to drive for Lyft. And I drove a lot in Baltimore. And one of the things that I always try to do, especially when I saw young black men in the car with me, was to talk to them about getting the help that they needed when it came to the struggles that they have up here. There's a large portion of this population that lives in these inner cities that I believe all have at least PTSD. You can't live seeing all the people, all your compatriots and people that are your age getting shot and killed, going to jail, doing all these things without it having an impact there on you. Beyond that, you just see what's happening even just with the economy, especially in a place like Baltimore. It weighs on people. And what you have is you guys kind of alluded to it, is that there's this stigma when it comes to there's a masculinity part of things. When it comes to being a man, you're supposed to be this macho, tough guy, not complain, this John Wayne type badass that just soldiers on through anything. And you see how toxic that is, in the sense that they treat boys and men as they're not allowed to express themselves or to feel their actual feelings. And it's a hard place to be in. If you look at the suicide rates, especially around males in this country, and how high it's been going, you're talking about some of the toughest motherfuckers in this world are our U.S. military. And you look at the numbers of suicide that goes within them, in their ranks, a lot of which because they feel from a masculine standpoint that they can't express, so they bottle it all up, and shit happens. You look even at Dak Prescott's fucking brother, 31 years old, his cause of death is suicide. And they're still telling people that you can't do this because of this macho bullshit. Now, the second part of it is the black men. We are looked upon as basically not having feelings, or at least they're not valid. If you want to take a look at the statistics as far as when it comes to medicine in the African-American community and how even you have women or men and how we get mistreated because doctors for the most part just think we're supposed to tough it through, or that we're complaining about something that isn't real because they don't necessarily feel for us the same way they do for their own kind. I think deaths during childbirth for African-American women is an insane number compared to any other race in this country.
Really?
It's stacked. I think it's 7 times more likely to die in childbirth if you're an African-American woman. It's not because of anything genetic. It's because of the care that they get. Mm-hmm. So when you were saying, when we prefaced this entire thing by whether or not it was a racial thing. You wonder why we're scared to
go to the hospital.
You wonder why, in a sense of, and I'm going to put it out there like this. I don't hate Skip Bayless. I think he can have some very problematic views, but I do think this also speaks to an inherent bias. If Dak Prescott was a lily white man, I don't think Skip Bayless says what he says.
No, for sure not.
Because the stigma or the aura of what black men are supposed to be is someone that's not allowed to express themselves, as we can see when they boo, as we talk about with the Chief stuff and what it is when it comes to the Black Lives Matters aspect. Just shut up. We don't care. Bottle your feelings and deal with it. It runs across the gamut with everything. And I have zero patience for anybody that stigmatizes people from getting the help that they need. Because it's hard, man. It's really, really, really hard. And especially right now when you got the pandemic, you got the economy the way it is, 30 million people unemployed, and you're still telling people they're not allowed to feel because of the profession, because of anything else. It's fucking bullshit. And it still speaks to that old-ass macho fucking horseshit that the NFL always says, which is why you had concussion issues and CTE and everything else, because you're supposed to just tough it out.
All right, story time.
Hold on. You have
story time.
Just before story time, I got 2 things. One, if Junior Seau wasn't a lesson, like there have been multiple people in the NFL from CTE, but also as a result of CTE, it was depression, it was suicidal tendencies, it was violent tendencies. They're dead. Like some of NFL's heroes are dead because of depression, and they're not all black.
I thought about committing in February, and I also did after my senior year in high school. I was like a reserve on our varsity football team, right? The starter, I was a tight end, so the starter tore his ACL, so he's out for the year. And I was next up, so I was going to start. And we won states that year. I didn't play because my parents were like, either you play, but like you get your grades up. Like if you don't get your grades up, you can't play. My grades weren't there, so I couldn't play.
Oh.
No, like, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I ended up getting to Maryland, and I'm here now, right? But yeah, I was really fucked up at that point in time.
I mean,
I never said to anybody.
I've had quite a few times where and this is just me being me, almost ruined my life and things that I worked towards. I had a charge come up when I was in law school, my last 2 months of law school, where had I been convicted of that charge, which I had done 7 years prior, would have precluded me from becoming a lawyer. I got my DUI in 2011, and it derailed basically my college career for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say that I'm ever suicidal, but you guys know my tendencies to ingest things are probably at unhealthy levels, and often. Although I cut back on my drinking. Although I gained some weight when I cut back on my drinking, so I don't know if that has something to do with it.
Ryan,
I don't know if I like that.
Are you drunk right now?
No, not yet. This is my second one today.
Getting there. Got it.
I will get there. But I didn't drink it all this week. So like, until yesterday. So I've been keeping the weekdays off, which is good. But that's only because when I go into, I don't want to go into work hungover because I'm not doing my best job. But here's my issue with Skip Bayless. If we're going back to the original topic, also you guys, any of the people that fucking follow us or watch this shit, if you comment on this video, or I'll put my phone number up. I don't care. If you want to call, I'll answer your phone number because I get weird fucking calls all the time from clients. I'll answer. If you want to talk, doesn't matter where you are in the country, please do that. But I think the issue with Skip Bayless, and this, I think this is true across the board, is Skip probably has some of his own issues. And the easiest thing to do is deflect and say that, well, that person over there, regardless of color, why is he doing that? Just because he himself can't. And that's
it's been open. Skip suffers from depression.
Yeah. Oh, it's open? Well, then he's a coward. I know I drink too much, but I don't drink. I got one DUI in 2011. Never drank and drive. I've never been drunk and driven since. So I realize that that's a bad thing because that can hurt other people. I have checked my drinking on a number of occasions because I'm self-aware. But what if I couldn't and I felt like I had nowhere to turn? That's how you die. That's how the guy from what's that vampire show on HBO? That was on HBO? True Blood. The gay guy who was the cook. Also black. Unfortunately, he could not control his drinking, and he couldn't tell anybody. One, he was gay, which at the time, I guess when he was younger, was not acceptable. And two, he had a drug and alcohol problem. He ended up drinking himself to death. Nobody should get to that point. There's places you can go, there's places you can call, but if somebody on ESPN or Fox Sports, fuck you, by the way. You have Whitlock too.
Not anymore.
Is he on ESPN? Was this on ESPN or is this on?
It's on Fox, but Whitlock said outkick now.
Oh, good. Oh, he got kicked out. Nailed it. If you have someone like Skip Bayless, who a lot of people respect as a person on sports news, you can't say that kind of stuff because all it does is it's not the adults really. You're putting a 12-year-old kid who in 5 years may have an addiction, or a 17-year-old who's a football player and he's the quarterback for his high school in Texas. And now 5 years from now, he remembers what Skip says. And now he doesn't feel comfortable telling his team, I'm struggling. And that's the real problem. It's not for Dak. I feel bad for Dak.
Well, hold on. Before we get into any more of the hypothetical aspect, I think you might have accidentally, I just want to make sure that I'm doing this right. You might have accidentally cut off James.
Oh, I'm sorry, James. Did I?
It's all good.
I think it's important the same way that when I was Lyft driving, I would tell my story or how I'm so open with sticking a gun in my mouth, all this stuff. I think you were about to say about something in February. I don't want to put any pressure on you.
Oh, February of this year?
Yeah, it's all good.
No,
I worked through it.
No, I want to hear it. Come on, man.
No, here's the thing: is that at the end of the day, I think that what we have to understand is that you have a choice in this. I don't want, and that's I don't want to put any pressure on you, James. But it's just one of those things where,
it was out. Well, this topic came up, and I was happy for Dak. Because it gave people like us a voice, right? You're an athlete. You're supposed to be all the time, 100% on all the time. Like, I dislocate a finger. Like, nah, put that shit in the splint. Get back in there. Like, all the shit you can see that you can get treated for, they fix it. You go back. There's shit up here, like they can't see it. Like, especially if you hide it. And as being a black man in America, I'm good at hiding shit. Like, I'm fucking paranoid every day when I go outside. Just because. Like, you know, they say like when, like, sometimes when women walk, like, you walk down the street and women see you, like, they switch to the other side or some shit. I do that shit. Because I'm scared of y'all. Like, I've grown up listening to the stories of, like, Emmett Till. Like, that could have been me. That could be my son. Like, whenever, or, like, it could be anybody that I know or whatever. People still getting lynched.
It's PTSD, dude.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, and Shannon said this, Skip, you can't say that this is what you would do in this situation because you're not there. You don't know all the factors. You don't feel everything. It's different. It's all different. You just have to have compassion.
I think that's my issue. That it seems like a lack of compassion and a lack of empathy. Like, I don't ever understand why people are like, well, that's your situation, but if I was in that position, because you're not in that position. Like, I will never understand a lot of things, and I fully understand that I won't understand it. But if I can't, I'm empathetic to the person who is experiencing them. Like, it's weird to me that a lot of people put other people in their shoes.
Yeah.
Because these are not my shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm glad you told us, James. And you can always call either of us or any of us, or you can FaceTime us, or you can write us a letter and I'll get it in the mail and I'll write you one back.
Yeah.
Sounds lame as shit.
It makes me angry because obviously you guys know, people who ever watch, they know I'm open about my issues. Mm-hmm. And because I'm open about my issues, I'm able to, like, my father knows, which is great. And he can be like, hey, maybe not a fourth today. And I'll be like, thank you. Well, but if you're not open about them, then people aren't looking for it. And because Dak came out about it, now, I mean, I'm assuming his family knew, but now his coaches know.
And now his family may not have known.
And now the players around him know. So if they see something wrong or they see something a little off, it's no longer, oh, maybe it's because he had a bad game, which I hope he has 16 of. No. It's no longer that. It's hey, maybe something's seriously wrong, and they'll reach out. If nobody knows and you don't have the platform to say, hey, I got an issue, then nobody's going to help because you're obviously not helping yourself.
Yeah, so but you always hear, like, check on your strong friends.
I drew this for Skip. That's a very terrible hand.
Can't say it.
It says fuck you,
Skip. Those nails are terrible.
Yeah, I'm a musical artist, man.
It's like a dick mountain. To put an end to this particular topic, I just wanted to
white. No, anyway.
So I would say that James, thank you. Ryan, thank you. It's important to get your story out, but it's important to have empathy, like everybody was saying. I think that probably what the hardest part about what Skip did was that when he said this was on September 10th, which is World Suicide Prevention Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I will say that if you're feeling if you're feeling low, if you're feeling down and out, if you're feeling as though you're just tired and you don't want to continue, do not feel ashamed. A lot of us have these thoughts. Right now, you can go on Google. If you type in suicide, you type in anything, there's hotline numbers. Reach out to a friend. Just let somebody know. Get it out.
Yeah.
Get it out. And if you're on the receiving end of that and you get somebody that gets to a point, and it's hard, as you saw with James, it's hard to talk about. And the last thing you want to do is if somebody trusts you enough to let that out, to criticize, to chastise, or to disregard their struggle is absolutely ridiculous. It's heartless, and it's not something we can do if we want to make any significant changes in the realm of mental health or suicide prevention or anything to try to just help your fellow man out with their struggles that we all go through.
I will say this though, because when in my youth, I was guilty of this. If somebody calls you that you think has a problem or has something going on, don't worry about your immediate reaction. Just answer the phone or go meet them for lunch. Because I feel like a lot of the time people reach out and then you're like, oh fuck, I don't want to deal with this. The problem with that is they're dealing with something that is way more significant than your inconvenience for having to listen to a friend cry or a friend be upset or a friend going through something. I get that. And I had, in my youth, I was negligent. Last 5 years, I feel like I have realized that. But yeah, I don't want to say don't be ignorant, but don't be dismissive because you don't want to deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that's an important thing to say because I see it happen a lot. I actually had a buddy in LA who I went to law school with who he was kind of a piece of shit, but he's a fun guy. He just did a lot of stupid things and he ended up overdosing. So it's one of those things where you really gotta be aware of your friends and your family. And if somebody reaches out to you, especially if they haven't reached out to you in a long time, you should listen because the alternative is bad.
Yeah. To close up, I want to say like one or two more things. Number one, Skip, that response to all the backlash you got was bullshit.
Oh,
it was not one apology.
Weakest apology I've ever seen.
Yeah, like
I was more upset about the apology than I was about the
it
statement.
wasn't an apology. It wasn't one. Like, and yeah, that was just heartless and stupid.
And here's the thing. Obviously, it affected you. It has affected probably 20, 30 million people in the United States.
Right. Now,
like, he thinks he's talking about Dak, but he's not.
Yeah. Like, everybody, like, if you hear something, you internalize it to yourself. Just yes. Like, automatically. So, that goes to my last point. Dak, I appreciate you, like, speaking on it because you save lives, like, with that talk. You may not know it, but you did. Because as you hear, like we heard about Kevin Love talk about his struggles, right? Kevin Love doesn't like me. I'm 100% sure we don't go through the same shit. Like, but then like you got Dak Prescott, like a black football player. Like, then you can sympathize more because you like y'all look alike. You like, okay, I can see more, like I can feel what you're saying more because I understand more.
Right.
That doesn't mean that when Kevin Love said what he said, that I wasn't as empathetic, because I was.
Dude, and ESPN and Fox were all over that with how brave he is and et cetera, et cetera. And that shit is just bullshit. Everybody who is dealing with some sort of depression, one, needs help, and two, needs their voice heard. That is 100%. There's nothing more comforting if you have something on your chest or have something that's really bothering you, especially if you have, depression, suicidal tendencies, etc., than getting it off your chest to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
and hearing
someone
that looks
cares.
like you, like, say the same thing.
Exactly.
Because it's not, you're not alone.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Being the Jew of the group, I don't really. You guys, obviously, I don't really see skin color that much. I know you guys are black because I'm not that colorblind. But to me, it's like, what? And this is hard for me to understand. Is, to me, Kevin Love and Dak Prescott's issues are the same, and I would never look at them differently. And it's really tough for me to see somebody who doesn't have that same mentality. And I get that's human nature. But good Lord, man.
Just have empathy and sympathy for somebody.
Especially, I didn't know it was Suicide Prevention Day. And also, for all you fucking assholes who are like, oh, why take this out of the sport? He did it on a fucking separate interview. Like, This was fully away from Dallas. So, fuck you guys. I was on my burner Twitter just roasting people. Anyway.
Respect. So, today's